Hello, boys and girls. It's that guy with a face made for radio, SidAlpha, and we're here to ask and answer the ultimate question when it comes to a video game. Is it worth it? Today, we're taking a look at Homeworld, Deserts of Kharak, a real-time strategy game developed by Blackbird Interactive. A few caveats before we get into things too much, guys. Real quick, this is the first video, the first game review on my channel that I'm using an updated system because the original Is It Worth format was a little bit too black and white and not enough gray area, and we ended up having people either absolutely loving or absolutely hating the reviews. So I decided that implementing somewhat of a scoring system would help define better for you guys what I think of the game in general. So now that we got that out of the way, we'll get into the review. So this game was released on January 20th, and I've heard a lot of people going nuts over this game, and it's understandable really. It's designed as a storied prequel to the classic titans that were the original Homeworld and Homeworld 2 video games. And it's kind of hard not to get excited when you're faced with that level of nostalgia. I even felt it a little bit myself. Homeworld was one of my personal favorites growing up and was the first RTS that I was introduced to that wasn't Warcraft or Command & Conquer. Actually, this was the first space-based RTS that my father actually introduced me to because he was a huge fan of the game. But before we start getting into the nuts and bolts of everything, let's take a quick look at the options menu. So here we go. We have video, we have global settings, high, medium, low, custom, ultra, resolution, all the standard resolutions, and they do support 4K, which is a good thing to see. Full screen, VSync, shadow quality, fog, bloom, anti-aliasing, texture quality, decal draw distance, anisotropic filtering, dynamic decals, NLIP, scaling of unit model size based on their distance from the camera. Alright. FX quality, maximum. My brain just shorted out on me. Moving on. Physics and animation quality, max LOD, debris persistence, tracks lifetime. So a pretty robust setting here. One thing that you'll note is missing, and I only point it out because I really want to see additional games doing this, and not enough of them are, is actually seeing a colorblind option, which we're not seeing that in here. So that's something that I feel is lacking, and I really wish it would be included. I of course am not colorblind, but that's really something that a lot more games developers should consider doing. Sound, we've got master, music and cinematic, sound effects and speech. Voice count and subtitles on or off. No additional languages, it looks like. Controls. Now you will notice here something that's a little bit lacking here is the ability to rebind keys, which is a huge shortcoming especially with a RTS game. The lacking the ability to set your own custom key mapping is crucial for an RTS, and I'm surprised that it was overlooked here. Then we have gameplay. Oh, here's the different languages. I'm sorry, I spoke too soon on the sound controls and everything. Language is in here. Okay. Camera, edge, pan, orbit, everything, sensors, camera, reset, a lot of standard stuff. So pretty standard menus. Again, lacking the rebindable keys, which I think is a sin in an RTS. It really is, and a lot of people will overlook this. But if a lot of RTSs, they make up their longevity, and the replayability factor comes from the multiplayer aspect, and not being able to custom bind your keys will actually help hinder that. Okay, so after running the FPS stress tests on the game, I can confirm that it does run at an adequate 60 FPS. And with that, I haven't had any noticeable dips in frame rate or bugs with the game. It seems to run quite well overall. However, I do have somewhat of a monster machine, so individual mileage may vary. The gameplay is about what you would expect from an updated Homeworld game. However, the controls are a bit more intuitive and easier to manage than in previous games, which is a nice improvement. I recall the original Homeworld required about an hour or so more of reading in order to understand everything, so I'm pretty happy that they included the tutorials that they did to help new players get their feet under them and get going right away. However, in order to keep tabs on things within the game itself, you will find yourself in the war map view far too often, and it ends up taking away from the overall experience. I mean, I want to see all the different units duking it out in an all-out free-for-all brawl between two massive armies with missiles dropping from jet fighters and bombers overhead and Gauss rifles blasting into the center lines as entire rows of enemy units vaporize under my withering assault. Yeah, you get my point. I'll just leave it at that. Instead, the vast majority of the combat, at least in the campaign mode, will be you looking at triangles, circles, and squares on a blue background. Words, speak them correctly. Yes, there we go. Now, let's talk about graphics for a second. Overall, the graphics of the game are quite good. Not quite on par with StarCraft 2, but then again, they are two different style of RTSs, and there is a decrease in price for Homeworld that allow me to not harp on it too much. Plus, like I said before, you'll be spending at least half your time looking at the expanded map view anyways. So, it almost feels like the graphics don't even matter too much, but it's good to know they put some effort in there anyways. And then we come to the story. What can I say about the story? Well, I'll give you a brief overview. The story revolves around your people, the Sajet, as they undertake a quest across the deep desert towards an anomaly that they hope will aid them in their quest, leaving the planet and strike out amongst the stars. Now, the planet is dying, and your people detected something known as a primary anomaly, which your people believe holds the key to space travel. Now, during your quest, you do battle against the religious zealots known as the Gaalsiens, who believe that space travel is a sin and humanity is supposed to accept its ultimate fate when the planet is destroyed. And overall, the graphic style is fantastic in relation to the campaign mode, and the cutscenes they employ a very stylized version of live-action video. It's kind of like where they recorded an actor or actress, and they did the drawing over the top of it. It's very artistic, and I rather enjoy that style. I do. But bear in mind, the voice acting does feel a bit phoned in at times, and I feel they could have done a better job with the overall story in general. It would have definitely benefited greatly from a longer story arc, which would allow them to delve into the characters a bit more than they did here. Now, I know that I've given a pretty even mix of viewpoints so far on the game overall, so fans of the game and fanboys of Homeworld, you may want to stop watching now. This is the part where I bash on the bad things I found in the game, so trust me, if you're a diehard fan, the rest of this video will probably only serve to piss you off. So if you are one of those people and you don't wish me to severely ruin your day, please feel free to move along now. I'll give you a few seconds.
Two groups of Gaalsien combat units have broken away from the main patrol force.
Are they gone? Are they gone yet? No. Okay. What about now? Are we okay now? Okay, good. Okay, guys, so let me start off with what I was leaning towards with the story mode. At 13 missions in total, it's far too fucking short, and it just feels truncated and a bit rushed. They could have done so much more with the campaign and the story than what they did here, but what they left us with, it almost felt a little tacked on, and overall left me feeling unsatisfied. Then we also have the AI. I've really got to take a moment to pick on the AI, because the AI in this game is fucking stupid, guys. They follow preset pathways, and once you figure out their patterns, they become really easy to overcome. It felt like the AI was just sitting there doing whatever the hell it is they do, instead of actually actively trying to fight you until some predetermined condition was met. in addition to this, you know, the overall difficulty of the game was a bit low. You know, if you've ever played RTS games before, you'll have absolutely no issue with the normal difficulty level. And the majority of the missions on the classic mode, which is the hardest difficulty level, really aren't all that difficult once you get into the rhythm of the opponent AI. So don't expect a titanic challenge with this game's campaign mode. Leave it for the multiplayer. Which also brings me to the gripes I have about the multiplayer. So, you know, multiplayers, that's where an RTS lives. You know, that's where it derives the vast majority of the gameplay, the content, and the longevity of the game. It totally is in the multiplayer component when it comes to an RTS. So, where are we with that? Well, Homeworld came out, it shipped out the door with 5 maps for multiplayer. That's right, I'm not fucking with you guys. 5. The multiplayer offering felt as truncated and shallow as the campaign length, which really makes me worry for the survivability of this game. Also, there has been pretty much no marketing for this game at all, which also makes me question how willing Gearbox will be to back this game up further down the road with content updates and things like that. So, you know, so with that, taking that into account, taking all those different things into account, guys, we have the campaign mode, the multiplayer, the graphics, sound, audio, and all that fun stuff. I take into account everything, and we are going to be putting this on a grading scale instead of simply saying is this worth your money or not? Because I think actually my asking the question, is it worth your money, is probably a little bit too subjective. Because I'm extremely poor, so I'm extremely frugal with my funds, whereas somebody who might be a little bit more financially solvent will probably have more you know, disposable income, so they might have money to blow away on something that they might only touch for a couple hours. You know, it's far too subjective. So what I'm going to be doing is we're going to do a grading scale with it, and like I discussed in one of my previous videos, we got 1 through 10 grading scale. 5 in the middle will be average. You know, I'm not going to do like any of those magazines or websites or anything where 6 and 7 is an average. No, 5 is fucking average. 5 is average, guys. So we take into account everything, the graphics, the story, the gameplay, how fun is it, what's the replay value, everything. We take that into account. And remember, guys, this is the game at launch. Okay, this has nothing to say of what the game will be like 6 months from now. This is just how it is at launch. And taking all that into effect, we can safely give it a 6 out of 10. That's right, it is an above average game. It has a good story, but the story itself, there isn't enough of it. And, you know, the multiplayer offering is really, really light on launch, and it makes me concerned about the longevity of the game overall. I would bump this up to a 7 if there was decent multiplayer content to be able to back this game up. But right now, at launch, that content just is not there, guys. So take it for what you will. You know, it's a good-looking and fun game with brilliant art design, but there's just simply not enough of it there for me to be able to give it a higher score. Like I said, maybe after they beef things up a bit. So, this has been a look at Homeworld, Deserts of Kharak by Blackbird Interactive. It is currently available on Steam for $50 or your regional equivalent. So don't forget to show me some love and hit that subscribe button, guys, and share with your friends and your enemies alike. Also, if you haven't heard yet, yes, I do have a Patreon, so if you've got a whole bunch of extra money burning a hole in your pocket and you feel like throwing some of that my way, go to patreon.com/SidAlpha and help support my channel. Once I get enough funding in place, I will be able to turn off ads completely, and that's something I really look forward to being able to do for you guys. So once again, this has been the guy with a face made for radio, SidAlpha. Thanks again for watching, guys. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Hey folks, SidAlpha here. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. If you want to check out some other First Impressions videos, feel free to click on the link on the left. If you're interested in staying more up to date with what's happening in the PC gaming community, feel free to click on the link to your right. The subscribe button is down at the bottom. Please show your support and punch that evil thing as hard as you can. And once again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it.